if I said you had to choose, you could make equal amount, Kevin joining us in studio, from music or from acting, what would you do?
You know, that's a tough question. I mean, I love being an actor, and I hope that I never really get into that kind of position. But I do love making music. I started writing songs before I even took an acting class. But you know, one of the things that's great about The Following is that over the course of your life, especially if you're doing movies, you find that you do a lot of stuff other than actually say lines and hit marks. The time between action and cut becomes a tiny little piece of your life, you know, where you're doing all kinds of other stuff. But when you're working on a television show, you spend so much time actually doing the thing that you love, as you kind of go, wow, this is really kind of exhilarating, you know. And so it's in a way, it's made me kind of fall in love with acting again.
TV versus movies.
Well, you know, to give you an example, The Following is one episode is 43 minutes, and we shoot that 43 minutes in about 8 days. A movie is about twice that amount of screen time, and I've worked on movies for 8 months, if it's a big, you know, special effects driven action kind of thing. So you are what we call running and gunning when you're doing a television show. You know, the hours are long and the amount of stuff that you do is great, but it's so much fun because for me, if you really understand who your character is, then you just can go on instinct. You know, somebody can throw a scene at you at the last minute, because a lot of times we don't get scripts until like the day before. And you just say, well, I know this guy and I know what he would do in this situation. So I'm really happy to be part of it. And you know, honestly, people think I'm joking when I say this, but I'm just happy to have a gig.
But it's gory on The Following.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Yes, it is. We have a very high body count.
but is there, do you ever say, is too much gore there, too much violence, that sometimes that takes away from the actual acting part of it? Does that ever enter into the equation?
I don't ever think about, I try to focus really on my job, and I'm not a writer, and not a writer on the show for sure. And I think I approach things in this kind of a genre in the same way that I would if it was a comedy or a sci-fi or any other genre. I'm thinking about the character and what do I get to play. And one of the nice things about this character and about the show is, even though we do have, yes, a lot of scares and thrills and blood, there's no doubt about it. You know, we push the envelope in terms of that. There's also a lot of stuff that's going on. I mean, this year I'm having, I've lost the love of my life. She's died in front of me. I'm just starting to develop a relationship with my niece. I've stopped drinking. You know, I'm in a different place in my life. You know, it's just, there's a lot of stuff to play. It's rich for an actor.
How do you cry on cue?
Well, I can't really cry on cue. There's actors that I've worked with, you know. I think the famous story about someone, I don't remember who it was an actress, and they said, can you please, you know, have a tear, you know, fall out of your eye? And she said, left eye or right eye. I'm not that guy, but I suppose that, you know, I feel like you take pain. We've all had pain in our lives, even if it looks like your life is cushy and beautiful. There's things that hurt, there's no doubt about it. And you just put it in this well, you know, it's kind of like an emotional well that you hold on to. And when time comes, you just dip in there and hope that it's gonna, you know, come out.
He's Kevin Bacon. The show is The Following. It's Monday night, 9 Eastern on Fox. During the commercial break, we just shot a scene from Animal House. And what was that, 30 years ago? How long ago was Animal House?
Well, I think it's not Animal House, it was 30 years. That Footloose is 30 years this year, but Animal House was many years before that.
35?
So I can't do the math, but I think we shot it in 78, maybe, something like that.
How old were you at the time?
I was 19 when I made Animal House.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
How much partying went on? Like, how chaotic, crazy?
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, but the interesting thing was that, you know, Animal House, the director created a situation early on where he really wanted the guys in the Animal House to bond, which they did. They got there earlier than the rest of us, and they formed this very tight bond, partly from going to frat parties. They famously got into a fist fight at a frat party, and it sort of bonded them all together, to the exclusion of those of us who weren't in the Animal House. So a lot of times there were parties that I was not invited to. I felt very much kind of pushed out by those guys, which was an interesting kind of dynamic, because I then end up making, friends with some of the other guys that were in the, what was the Delta and what's the other one? Whatever the house
Omega?
is.
Omega.
I think I was in the Omega, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Some of the other Omega guys. And
Wait,
some
you
of
don't remember anything about this movie? Why am I
I
telling you?
remember stuff. I'm telling you.
I'm telling your lines from Animal House. You didn't even know those were your lines.
Look, I mean, here's the I see the movie when it comes out, and maybe a couple of times, but I don't revisit it. I'm not someone who looks in the rearview mirror. I'm looking down the road. Not that I don't. I think that's a great movie, and I'm so thrilled, as I was saying to you, to be part of something that's so iconic. I mean, and that obviously.
My goofballs.
Yeah, obviously.
The Danettes.
It's special
Yeah.
to the Danettes.
But did you understand Belushi's genius right away?
Well, it was great. Yeah, I definitely was in awe of him, and also simultaneously of what he was doing on Saturday Night Live. It was kind of the birth of the power of Saturday Night Live. And I remember people would go stop whatever they were doing in New York or go to a bar or whatever just to watch what was going on with him and Aykroyd and everybody else who was on that show at the time. And the amazing thing about John was that he was also shooting Saturday Night Live while we were doing Animal House. So he would work, I guess up until maybe Thursday in Oregon, where we shot Animal House, jump on a plane, fly back, and on Sunday morning, fly back to Oregon and do Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday with us on the set. So it was a very, very tough schedule. And he was an incredibly sweet, generous, and great guy.
Did you understand what it was when you shot it?
No. Mm-mm. No.
When did you realize what it meant to people?
It was my very first movie, so I didn't really have anything to compare it to. And, I was like, well, okay, cool. Yeah, I'm gonna. I
How
got
much did you make?
Oh, I made, scale at that point was $750 a week, and I think I worked for 5 weeks. So I was working as a waiter when I got the gig, and I didn't have an agent or anything. I was in acting school, and they came by, and they cast me out of acting school. I went out to Oregon. I came back. I thought I was a movie star. I spent the money, like, literally in 2 weeks, doing things that I shouldn't do. And... And I had to ask for my job back as a waiter. And so when the movie came out, I was still working as a waiter. And I had to ask for the night off to go to the premiere, which was down at the, first the premiere was on 42nd Street, and then the party was at the Village Gate. So I went, I got the night off. I didn't bring a date because I really, really thought that I was gonna just be, knocking them down. Basically that
They were waiting for you.
They were waiting for me,
Yeah.
exactly,
Yeah.
because I was a movie star. I got to the premiere, and I realized that I didn't even have the seats that the rest of the cast has. The rest of the cast was walking down the red carpet, and I was standing on the outside of the rope, like, "Hey, fellas, hi, remember me?" And they all got out of limos, and I was just like, I was amazed. And one of them saw me. It might have been Stephen First or someone, and took pity on me and asked them to, drag me on the other side of the red rope. I sat down, I watched the movie. I went down to the party, and I could not convince any girl at that party that I was in the movie. My hair had grown and whatever. And my family was going to, actually, they ended up making me a T-shirt that said, "Didn't you see me in Animal House?" Because my joke was that, you come up to someone and say, you know me from somewhere. Where is it? You know me. You saw me in something. What was it? Animal House. That was it. You saw me. So I went back to the bar very depressed about the reality of the business, and spent the night back at work, off, but hanging out with my friends that had taken over my shift, and it was a great lesson.
Can you stay for another segment?
Absolutely.
All right, great. Well, we'll continue with Kevin Bacon. McLovin wants to reenact Footloose.
That looks like fun.
When's the last time you danced? When you and your wife went out and danced.
Wow.
Like a wedding, do you have to, if you go to a wedding with Kira, do
I
you
go
have
to the disc jockey and I give him $20 and I say, do not play that song.
No Footloose.
No Footloose, because here's my feeling. The wedding is for the bride and groom. It's not for Kira and Kev. And, you know, when you sort of take that on, when there's a group of people that have formed a circle around you and are clapping, you know, for you to dance, it's all of a sudden it's about us being there, me being there, and I get really uncomfortable with that. You know, I really do. I feel like I don't want to be there to perform, and so.
Well,
yeah.
you're really going to be uncomfortable then next as McLovin reenacts. Are you going to do Kevin's scene with Footloose?
I'm going to do the headphones dancing instruction scene.
Oh,
Where so you teach Chris Penn how to dance, but you don't. I'll just be Chris Penn alone.
Okay. Okay. This is we're looking back into my.
Yes, we are. Yes,
okay.
we are. Yes, we are.
Excellent.
The following, you can see it on Monday nights at 9 Eastern on Fox. We'll continue with Kevin Bacon,
Thank
half
you.
past the hour, Dan Patrick Show. Kind enough to open up the scrapbook and let us thumb the pages here. So we already did Animal House. I still love Diner because the ensemble seemed like you guys, and here you are sitting in a booth at a diner, and it became, I think it was conversation that Seinfeld sort of was based on, that there was conversation about nothing, and you guys made it interesting. How much was ad lib and how much was scripted in Diner?
Well, there was definitely some ad lib, and a lot of it was scripted. And I remember getting down there and seeing the other actors in the rehearsal and seeing how good they were at ad libbing and getting really kind of paranoid and terrified, because I don't really think, or at least at that time, I really didn't think of myself as an ad-libber. And ad-libbing was something that was kind of not in my comfort zone. And for instance, Paul Reiser, who's really funny in the movie, when Paul came down, he had maybe one line in the script, and I just saw his part, you know, growing and growing because he just kept coming up all this cool, funny stuff to say. So I literally made a choice one night that I was going to be the guy in the group who just laughed and reacted to them, and didn't put the pressure on myself to actually come up with funny lines, and it actually was a big part of who that character is. He kind of tends to fade into the background.
If I said you could have the Volkswagen from Footloose or the sports car from Diner,
TR3, I think.
that was a convertible.
Yeah, convertible. Yeah, I would take that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a super cool car. But I did not know how to drive a stick at the time, and they asked me if I knew how to drive, but they didn't ask me if I knew how to drive a stick. And so they got me with a Teamster like on the night that we were shooting, but. I only had, you know, like they were like, get in the car with half an hour and you can drive this thing. And it's not an easy thing to learn in a half an hour. So I actually held up shooting. I kept stalling out. I was trying to start and pull out on a hill, and it was a complete disaster. I was terrified, and I could not wait for the night to end.
Why is it comedies don't win Academy Awards?
It's a very good question. I think there's been plenty of comedies that are deserving, and I think that
Like Meet the Parents, to me, was De Niro was brilliant in there.
Yeah.
I mean, just the cameos in there.
Yeah.
But I don't know why people would, and it's so hard to do comedy.
it is hard to do comedy. I don't really know. I suppose for most people, I think most people don't look at acting as being all that hard anyway. And if they're going to look at something that looks hard, the thing that's going to be hard is going to be crying or an accent or losing weight or gaining weight.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or, you know, those things. But just being funny, they don't think that's hard.
When you were with Nicholson in A Few Good Men, like, is there a moment where you have that sort of I'm there with Nicholson?
Sure. Yeah. I've had the opportunity to work with so many incredible actors, and actors that, you know, in the case of someone like Nicholson, that when you're actually deciding to be an actor, Meryl Streep would be another example of that. I did a movie with Meryl. You're kind of deciding to be an actor, and you're watching an actor, and you say, "Oh, God, if I could ever have any kind of a career that even comes close to this," or you're like hanging on their every word or every performance, and then all of a sudden you're sitting, opposite them and playing a scene. It is one of those like crazy kind of pinch me moments. But the thing that you find about most of those kinds of people that have gotten so far, they've gotten there because they roll up their sleeves and get to work, and they don't want to put themselves in a working situation on some kind of a pedestal. They don't need to prop themselves up or make themselves seem more important, and they understand, certainly in the case of both of those people, that you have to play the scene and you have to play the play, and part of that is to make sure that you're interacting with the actors who are around you.
What about if you screw up, though?
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
blow a scene in front of Meryl Streep, or
Right.
Jack.
Yeah, no, I always, come to work, with my game jersey on. I mean, I really do try not to blow a scene, but things happen, and I think that sometimes people you can psych yourself out, if you're getting into a scene with somebody that's really amazing. You have to go into that situation believing that you have something to offer as well, and you have to, convince yourself of that, even if it's not true.
Fritzy's done. We've already revisited the Wild Things, right?
Wild Things.
You get
Yeah,
one.
he's probably tired of
You
me,
got one
fantasizing.
question, and that's it with the Wild Things with Nev Campbell and Denise Richards, and so he's not even in the scene that you're
Nah,
talking
which
about.
he should have been.
Well,
Nothing
the
against Matt Dillon.
scene with Matt.
Yes.
Yeah, the
threesome
situation.
Yes.
Yes, yeah, I know.
Did you have the power to put yourself in that scene?
Well, I was actually a producer on the movie, and if I, as I said, I don't have a lot of regrets in my life, but not being in that scene would be one of them.
How many takes were involved in? Did Matt Dillon purposely mess up several times? So this guy endlessly have to.
I can't tell you something though. There's another great scene, obviously, which is in the pool where the two girls kind of first hook up for the first time. And I am in that scene. I'm hiding in the bushes with a pair of binoculars, which is like so creepy, just right there. And it was one of those things where I'm very far away from the pool, and you don't actually. There's never a shot that ties me in. So they said, "Look, we're going to do you a favor, and we're going to shoot your side of it out.
Oh, no.
You were going to be here all night, but you can go home." So basically, they just did one shot of me going like this, and I was like, "Well, I'm not really that busy tonight. I didn't really, what time is it? Oh, it's only 3 in the morning. I feel fine."
Paulie tells his story that he worked at the Reebok Club
Yeah, it's true.
at a health club in New York. It's up by Columbus Circle, I think. Paulie, tell the story, and then we'll see if we can get affirmation from Kevin.
I was working there one day, and it was the middle of the afternoon. It was really quiet, and I hear bang, 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 bang on this like service door. And I open the door, and it's Kevin's wife, Kira Sedgwick, the actress, standing there in a small towel out on 68th Street, and there's people all over the place. And she had gone out the wrong exit, and she was in the middle of a construction site, and you can imagine.
I don't know how she did it. I mean,
Is that true?
it's true. It's true. She, so she was there were two locker rooms, one on top of another. She was in a towel. She was trying to get to to the other locker room for some reason. I can't even remember why. She went through a door. She went through another door, and she just kept going through doors, And if you know my wife, she's a natural blonde. She's incredibly smart, very talented, very smart woman. But sometimes the blonde kicks in, and she just started going to her door, through another door, through another door, through another door, and finally went, "Oh, I'll just go through this last door." And it slammed behind her, and she was on 68th Street, and realized that it had locked, and she had and her knight in shining armor came with
Look at you, Paulie.
a hoodie.
It was a wild moment. Yeah, I gave her my jacket, and all the construction guys just start yelling at me for closing the door and letting her back. They're like, "Boo, boo, boo! Let her stay out here." They wanted us to keep her out there.
Hey, great that you stopped by, and thanks for letting us open up the scrapbook. As
Thank you for
painful as
having
it
me.
was
No,
for
it was
you.
great. I
See
love
what
it.
you should, but celebrate what you did.
I
mean,
should.
Yeah, movies that have had an impact on people, man.
Thank you very much. It's been fun to be here.
No, you didn't enjoy that, did you?
I did. Of course I did. It's good to look back every once in a while.
Are you acting right now? You are, aren't you? Yeah, just a little bit. The show is The Following, the hit psychological thriller. The Following with Kevin Bacon, Mondays at 9 Eastern on Fox. And the Bacon Brothers performing tonight, Super Bowl Boulevard, 8:30 on Broadway and 39th. Thank you, Kevin. Good sport.